One's ready. One's ready. Go!
Hey everybody, welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. This is your daily drop for 30 June, brought to you by Modern Athlete Shrink Systems. If you guys aren't tracking, we have a bunch of different partners, but if you head over to onesready.com, top right-hand corner, hit prep, and then partner discounts, scroll down until you see Modern Athlete Shrink System. Modern Athlete Shrink System has got dietitians, nutritionalists, strength coaches, and much, much more. And they have three programs that we kind of support. They have the Warfighter Elite, and then the 90 Unchained. Now, that 90 Unchained is one that's going to actually be 90 days of intense life coaching, strength and conditioning, dietitian personalized to you. And it's a phenomenal program. We've had quite a few people sign up for it and they've given rave reviews. The Warfighter and the Warfighter Elite is basically a volume game, right? They're programming that is put onto the Train Heroic app. You follow it, it gives you scalable options, it gives you recommended weights, it allows you to log it right there in Train Heroic, and the workouts are brought to you every single day. You can go back and do old ones. I can't remember if you can go do forward ones. I'll have to check that out. I haven't tried that, but it's a great program. And if you go to our site and you click on any of those hyperlinks or the pictures, it'll take you to their site. Now, I've embedded the URL in there, and it's a One's Ready URL. But then while you're there, use the promo code One's Ready, and it'll get you a discount. That way, they know we sent you. And then with the 90-day Unchained, there's not a promo code to input in there. But if you let them know, because you're going to have to do a one-on-one interview with them anyway, to make sure that you're a good fit and that to see what you want to get out of it, just let them know we sent you, and then all will be good. All right. Joint news now. Raisin Kane visits Navy destroyer in Greece. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane visited the USS Thompson Hudner in Greece, praising its crew for enhancing regional security. The destroyer is one of 5 deployed to the Eastern Mediterranean to defend Israel and U.S. forces in Southwest Asia. Next, U.S. soldiers defend Udeid from Iranian missile attack. Air defenses at the Udeid Air Base in Qatar have 2 minutes to intercept an Iranian missile barrage with only 40 soldiers remaining after evacuation. General Raisin Kane detailed the successful defense supported by a 15-year effort to monitor and strike Iran's Fordo nuclear facility. 40 soldiers chilling back at Udeid, just intercepting missiles. Good on you, boys. And to be clear, I'm using boys, it's boys and girls, of course, like dudes and chicks and all that kind of stuff. So relax. Trump's claim on Iranian attack at Udeid. President Trump claimed he approved an Iranian attack on Udeid Air Base in response to U.S. airstrikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. General Dan Kane described the defense as a major use of Patriot missile systems, while Pentagon officials clarified that Trump did not provoke the attack. I mean, there's so much behind that anyway. Yeah, okay, we bombed the Iranian nuclear facility, right? They have to respond in some kind of way. Now, they were hitting Israel with hypersonics and stuff like that, right? But yet, with Udeid, they only hit us with normal, mid-range ballistic missiles, when they could have used hypersonics. Also, if you remember back in, what was that? Was it 2018? 2016, 2017? I don't know. Where President Trump called for the assassination of Soleimani, and the response was ballistic missiles that we knew about ahead of time. We knew the locations ahead of time, and they basically didn't have any explosive material in it. And it was a weak response. It was obviously telegraphed. We knew it was coming. They purposely didn't put any ordnance in the missiles. So, it's all fake. We're living in a simulation, and it's all fake. Next, Pentagon tests secure cloud-based network. The Defense Department is testing a secure cloud-based network on a British aircraft carrier to simplify classified communications with allies. The initiative aims to reduce the number of secure networks by incorporating data tagging, potentially adapting to NATO's cloud systems. I'll tell you right now, that is one of our biggest challenges, not just with other nations, but even with service members within the Air Force, Space Force, and other services. And then even within the Air Force, it is difficult, or any of the service, because there's so many different classification levels. People often don't know what is actually classified and what is not classified, and people, it's because there's so much confusing data out there, and there's the original classification guide, and it's a mess. And this is one of the biggest challenges that the DoD is dealing with right now, without a doubt. Military spouses face high rates of depression and anxiety. A survey found military and veteran spouses experience depression and anxiety at 2 to 3 times the general population's rate. Over half reported some depression or anxiety, with two-thirds experiencing sleeplessness and a third dissatisfied with their sleep. Maybe Joe needs to stop marrying strippers. That's all I'm saying. Like, just a thought. Joe, Joseph, Jody. Next, this is Air Force news. Air Force leaders warn of China's growing threat. The Air Force leaders told the Senate that China's rapidly increasing military power poses a significant threat to U.S. interests. They described the current security environment as one of the most dangerous in history, and with the Air Force struggling to balance operations and modernization. Yeah, we're not saying anything that we haven't been shouting from the rooftop for years now. And that whole 2027 is right around the corner. If you don't know what 2027 is that is when China said that they were going to retake Taiwan. So I don't know if that's, the 1st of January 2027, or if it's, the end of December in 2027, or any time in between, but that's when they said that they're going to do it. So we'll see if they actually do. Next, Air Force retrofits Qatari jet for Air Force One. Funds originally allocated for the Sentinel ICBM program are being used to retrofit a Qatari Boeing 747 into a new Air Force One. The retrofit is expected to take just under a year without delaying the Sentinel program, despite its restructuring. I am interested to see how you reallocate funds for the new Air Force One to retrofit it from ICBM, yet the new Sentinel ICBM program won't be affected. I don't know how that math doesn't add up. I don't get it. Next, Air Force budget boosts munitions funding. The FY26 budget requests includes $4.8 billion for munitions, with $1.9 billion from reconciliation funding missiles like the AIM-260 and the AIM-120. Additional funds support the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, the bunker buster that we just dropped, or multiple bunker busters that we just dropped, and family of affordable mass missiles. Yeah, we have an issue with our inventory. We don't have as much as you would think that we have. And that may be surprising to some of you, but these munitions are expensive. They're extremely smart, and they're difficult to make, and they're difficult to make and scale. They're not dumb bombs, like Mark 82s, 83s, and 84s, right? These are even GBU-12s and GBU-31s and stuff like that. Like, those are relatively easy to make. We've got the lock on that. It's these other ones that are more expensive, more complicated, and difficult to mass produce. Next, Air Force to retire A-10s and cancel the E-7 program. The FY26 budget proposes retiring the A-10 fleet and canceling the E-7 Wedgetail program, creating a gap in the air moving target detection. The budget cuts F-35 procurement by half, but increases funding for B-21 Raider and the F-47 fighter. It's kind of been on the books to retire the A-10 for quite some time, and it keeps getting pushed back, and I'm happy about that. And that would be pretty awesome if it gets pushed back again, in my opinion, because you can say that the A-10 has no game when it comes to 5th gen warfare and stuff like that. But when you start talking about how many different munitions the A-10 can hold, I think you'd be surprised in how low it can fly in, once it does get in there, and once we do get into a ground war, because eventually I think that's where you end up going. Maybe not in every theater, for sure, but you telling me that Ukraine wouldn't win, the not Ukraine itself, but the battle that's happening in Ukraine couldn't use some A-10s? I mean, it for sure could. The E-7 Wedgetail, that does make sense to me. However, I think I talked about it last week. I would like to hear from the command and control folks on this and see what their feelings are about it. I can't imagine they're happy about it. But if you can take a step back and look at it objectively, I think that's probably the right answer. Of course, there's people out there that could say the same thing about the A-10 to me as well. So fully acknowledge that. Next, Air Force removes alternate fitness test options. The Air Force eliminated alternative exercises like reverse crunches from fitness tests for trainees, requiring sit-ups, push-ups, and a 1.5-mile run. Proposed changes include extending the run to 2 miles and mandating semi-annual testing. I saw something about this. I actually didn't realize that there were alternate movements for people in basic training anyway. I know that, once you're out and part of your annual or semi-annual PT test, Air Force PT test, you were able to do, hand release, push-ups, and that kind of stuff. Or the what is it, hammer run, which was like a shuttle run kind of thing. But I didn't know that they were doing that in basic training. Next, airman dies in swimming incident at Mountain Home. An airman from the 366 Fighter Wing died in a swimming accident at Mount Home Air Force Base, Idaho, after failing to resurface. The incident is under investigation with the airman's name withheld pending family notification. That really sucks. I think Albuquerque had something similar to this like a month or two ago with somebody who went out swimming, or he just got out too deep apparently and just never resurfaced. So that's unfortunate. And then this next one, I just saw about this morning too. So search for missing airman in Alaska kayak accident. An airman from Kunsan Air Force Base, South Korea, went missing after his kayak overturned in Alaska's Chima River during a red flag exercise. He was not wearing a life jacket, and search efforts continue amid warnings about dangerous river conditions. I saw this morning that they actually recovered him and he was dead. So really two and three tragic accidents if you count the one that happened a month or two ago. So man, if you guys don't know how to swim, learn. And sure, you could say, well, he should have been wearing his life jacket, but man, you never know when you're going to end up in some water or have to jump in to save somebody. And imagine how you'd feel if somebody's drowning or a kid's drowning in front of you and you can't jump in to save them because you don't know how to swim. Like that's not a great place to be. Always be ready. Always be training. T6 pilot's death linked to ejection mishap. Jeez, man, here's another one. Okay. A T6 Texan instructor pilot died after accidentally ejecting to an improperly inserted safety pin and pulling the ejection handle while unsecured. The investigation found that some pilots unbuckled during taxiing contributed to the mishap. That sucks. I can't imagine how that felt. With any luck, hopefully he passed pretty quickly. Man. All right. Space Force news. Disney's Pixar ILO highlights Space Force mission. Disney Pixar's ILO offers an accurate depiction of the Space Force's space domain awareness mission following consultations with Chief Master Sergeant John Benavida. The film aims to inspire interest in the Space Force role and growth. Look at that. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen the trailer for that. I'll have to check that out. Next, loss of satellite data input impacts hurricane forecasting. Meteorologists will lose access to the Defense Meteorological Satellite Program's microwave imager, reducing storm system data by over half. Space Force officials noted that the satellites remain functional for Defense Department use, supporting weather forecasting. Next, SpaceX awarded contract for weather satellite launch. SpaceX received an $8.6 million Space Force contract to launch the weather system follow-on microwave space vehicle 2 in 2027. The satellite will monitor hurricanes and solar wind interactions, carrying experimental small satellites as a secondary payload. All right, these are of interest. Arizona man sentenced for lasing Air Force jets. An Arizona man was sentenced to 9 days in prison. That's it. For pointing a laser at two F-16s during training, interfering with pilots' vision. Lasing incidents against aircraft have increased, posing safety risks. Man, usually, isn't that a federal crime? I can't remember if that's a federal crime or not, but I thought it was, because you're dealing with aviation and the safety of flight and that kind of stuff. Like, what an idiot. Don't do that stuff. All right. Next one is also of interest. U.S. Air Force faces strategic challenges. Operation Midnight Hammer, amazing name, showcased U.S. air and space power, but highlighted the Air Force's aging and underfunded fleet. The authors of this article urge Congress to accelerate the B-21 Raider production and increase F-35 inventories and reinstate the E-7 Wedgetail program. Boy, I don't see the E-7 getting reinstated. I can see things turning around for the F-35, and we definitely need to ramp up B-21 production without a doubt. So that has been your daily drop for the 30th of June. I appreciate you guys being here. Sorry, I'm a bit stuffed up today. I'm not feeling very well. Definitely woke up with a banging headache, and we'll see what's going on with me. But the show doesn't stop. We bring it to you, and well, I bring it to you if I'm not too if I'm not too busy and I actually get the news and I'm able to do it. But regardless, like, the show goes on. All right. Thanks for being here. See you.